Mrs. Davis is a new Peacock series from the writer of Lost. Let's see if this new series is worth your time. Hey everybody, my name's Justin here. I try to watch everything that hits theaters and on streaming services. If you guys are like me, go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below and click that bell notification for more up and coming content. A nun is forced from her quiet life when an all-powerful artificial intelligence known as Mrs. Davis enlists her to complete an epic quest. So this was created by Damon Lindelof and Tara Hernandez. And Damon Lindelof was the writer for Lost, and we know how that series was. Very bizarre. Took many weird turns and just had these really profound moments and really caught me by surprise. And that's essentially how Mrs. Davis is. This is a really weird show. Takes these weird little detours throughout and tries to have these profound moments about religion, and it just gets absolutely bizarre. And I loved it. I thought it was a really fun show. Betty Gilpin plays Simone. She is a nun. She counters this AI named Mrs. Davis. People can put Bluetooth into their ears. People do what she says because it will help them find homes and jobs and all of that. But she wants her to find the Holy Grail. And so we go on this adventure of looking for the Holy Grail. But throughout these 8 episodes, it's so much more than that. We have this nun that's fighting off this AI while looking for a Holy Grail, and just looking at this nun's past and her relationships with everybody throughout. There are so many times within this series that I had to stop, rewind what I just watched because I was absolutely baffled and shocked with what was happening. There are so many times our storyline is developing in one way, very, I guess, calm way, and then it just goes off in this really weird direction. And it really makes you think about everything that came before that episode. Very similar to Lost. So many characters where their religion and their relationships are tested. You get to see these characters grow and how much their religion means to them, especially Betty Gilpin's character Simone and her as a nun. And there's enough development and backstory given to her character to you really feel like it is important to her, but also is an integral part to who she is and the journey as well. So we have this series that is balancing religion and navigating all of that. It's not trying to be a religious show by any means. You have that aspect to it of her being a nun and the challenges along the way. Then you have this adventure part to it where they're looking for the Holy Grail, going from location to location, looking at the history of it and diving a little bit deeper into it. And then you have this backstory with it and this group that's trying to protect it. There's a lot of different themes in here, and the show perfectly balances it. At times, there are moments when we introduce a new aspect of the show or go on these little different detours, and it undermines certain moments prior, especially with the way that the story was progressing. There's moments where you feel like, it was important in the beginning and now it's not as important. And now we have this whole other story, these shocking reveals about these characters, and it's taken it into this weird direction. But I also love how original it was and how it embraced all these profound moments in trying to do something very cool, and I got that within here. Many sequences throughout Mrs. Davis have that shock value and make you think about prior scenes, and Betty Gilpin does a great job in here. She cusses, she's hilarious, she's great as this nun Simone, and I love her determination in here to get rid of this AI, Mrs. Davis, but also go on this adventure. You see this really great character development about middle half of the series when you really look at her past. And not only her past, but her ex-boyfriend, Wiley, played by Jake McDorman, and seeing that relationship and how it was tested and eventually fell apart as well. And now they're teaming up together. There's many episodes in here where we take a slower approach and look at the character and then go way back into the past and slowly build up to who they are now. And sometimes the character development is a little bit too much. I hate to say that, but there are a lot of episodes where you just take that slower approach, you peel back the series, and I did like looking at the characters, but at times with these 1 hour episodes, it's just a little bit too much because the first couple episodes were very zany. You had a really in-your-face soundtrack, really hilarious moments, jokes that worked, and you could tell that this original idea was just going to go into crazy territories. And then you get to these moments that are just much more slower and very personal, and at times they are adding a lot to the story in those really bizarre moments, but at times also it's just a little bit too much. Like, I don't need to know every aspect of these characters' lives. When you built up in a very successful adventure couple episodes in the beginning, I want to see that kind of just take off and just go with it. And I got that sometimes later half of the series, but then we kind of dived into these profound moments and looking at religion and tying all these different characters together. And when I learned who wrote this, and when I learned who created this series, it makes sense when you look at Lost and you look at this, where you got lost at the beginning, where you got lost at the end. I did not expect that at all. And that's kind of how Mrs. Davis is. But this show is wild. There's some really good action scenes. I loved how it built this story and felt very original. There were a lot of shocking moments. I just wanted to continue and seeing how it was able to connect to the characters and the story and just kind of build off of each other. It's a wild series that focuses on religion as well and what it means to people and how they navigate it, and people can fight against it as well, but also have this really solid adventure feel to it. It's wild, it's profound at times, it's funny, it's all around a very unique story. At times, like I said, the way that it's set up doesn't feel like it's following through later on in the series. Like, they introduce something and then they quickly forget about it later down the road because they want to add more to that development for the characters and have these really interesting moments within the series. So at times, like, they're taking on something new without fully fleshing out things previously. But overall, Mrs. Davis, I thought it was a very unique, wild show with a lot of potential really early on. Betty Gilpin is really good in here. Jake McDormand is hilarious. He's got this wild energy to him. And the supporting cast as well, which I don't want to go too much in because some of the characters were pretty interesting and had some unique stories that really shocked me. So I don't want to go into too much of the side characters because they're there and they have a purpose, and I don't want to spoil that for anybody. But this is a pretty good show on Peacock. Lately, Peacock shows have been really good. This and Poker Face, they've been on a pretty good streak of shows. So before I give you my score for Mrs. Davis, make sure to check out my channel. Here I do movie reviews, trailer actions, ranking videos, tier lists, all that fun movie related content that you see on YouTube. I do it all here, so hit that subscribe button to get it all in one spot. I'm going to go ahead and give Mrs. Davis a B. Thank you guys for checking out my review for Mrs. Davis on Peacock. Have you guys seen it by chance? What'd you think about it? Let me know in the comment section down below, and stay tuned for more up and coming content like this. My name is Justin Watches Movies, and you guys stay classy, YouTube.